I want y'all to say good life. You know, we hear a lot about the good life. I've been talking to people and asking them, what do you think the good life is? What do you think about when you hear the words, the good life? What does that make you think of? What does it make you go to? What kinds of images does that conjure up in your mind? And we get a lot of different answers. A lot of different answers. People are saying this thing and they're saying that thing. People are saying, you know what? It's all about family. You know, you got family, that's the good life. You know, some people are saying, well, you know, it's all about when I Google the internet, you see a lot of stuff. There's songs written about it. You'll see things about money, cars, and clothes. You'll see things about, hey, it's all about how many relationships you can have, whether appropriate or inappropriate. And so you have all these different ideas about the good life. You know, when we think about the good life, hey, how you doing? I'm going to stop for a second so I can give some hugs. How you doing? All right. What's your name?
Lori.
Lori, we hug here. It's all good, Lori. Come have a seat. We're talking about the good life. Now, when you hear that term, the good life, we think some very specific things. Maybe some of you are thinking, you know, the good life is the life where I have grandchildren and they're running around and they're great. And maybe the good life is, you know, if I just had a little more cash, maybe that would signify the good life. You know, as I think about my own life, I was watching something the other day, just listening and watching. T.D. Jakes was speaking, and as he was speaking about his life. And as he was speaking about his life, something welled up in me and reminded me about my own life. That, you know what? There's some cool things that have happened in my life. Really cool things. Very, very cool things. You know, I thought about the fact that, you know what? I've been able to play for the President of the United States. And for him to turn around and tell me, I wish I could play like you. That's pretty cool, isn't it? You know, I've been in situations where money was so overflowing that I was able to send other people on vacations to beaches and all places around the country. Able to fly friends in and put them in limos and have them be chauffeured around. Able to call family members and say, hey, take the day off and send my limo driver over to pick them up just so that they can have a day of peace and relaxation. I remember owning the only African-American owned ISP in the country. I remember serving as one of the top executives from a technology perspective for all of these companies that are worldwide. I thought of all the cool things that I have been able to do, all the people that I've been able to meet, all the dignitaries. I remember one time sitting in an office in D.C. and sitting there with a particular senator, and it's just me, him, and a friend. And as people come to his door, they're like, no, you can't come in, we're busy. And I'm like, we're just chilling. This is so cool. I remember one time sitting with a friend of mine. We were in the harbor in Maryland and on a boat. And there was a private party on the boat, and I sat with him, and we sat there and we looked around the room, looked around this boat, and we're like, nah, that's the CEO of Bell Atlantic over there, and that's the CEO of so-and-so, and that's the president of this and that. And we looked and said, wow, how do we get here? Things will probably never be the same again. You know, I remember being on a yacht right off the coast of Florida, right outside of Miami, and sitting down with a gentleman there who's a billionaire. And we're sitting and we're talking on his yacht. It's like, wow, that is a cool thing. Is this the good life? Wow. I remember being in Belize, and we're there in this $1 million house and right on the beach. And we're there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm staying there, and it's great. And I look to my left, you know, my wife is there, and I look around the table, I see a few things. All the people who have enough money to kill us and keep our mamas quiet. There at the house having dinner. Some of the most powerful people in that entire country are right there breaking bread. I looked around, and there's people whose job it is just to come to the house and prepare things and to serve them on the table. Man, I've been in some cool places. You know, I was blessed enough a couple years ago. I got a phone call. It was a Saturday morning. I will never forget it. It was Saturday morning, and my mentor called me early in the morning. It's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, man, something got to be wrong. Him calling me at 7 o'clock in the morning. I understand you get up that early, but I do not get up that early. So he called me, and I said, you know, what's wrong? He said, I just want to congratulate you. I said, well, what I do? He said, well, you know, it's not every day that you make the front page of the paper above the fold. Went down, and I bought like 4,200 copies of that paper. They had named me Man of the Year. I had some cool stuff. Ministry-wise, I've been able to see some cool things. Some real cool things. People couldn't walk, see them walk. People who the doctors have said that, you know what, this is going to be it for you. And it wasn't it for them. People who have been declared, even in my own family, even me and my wife, when a doctor said, you know, it's impossible for you to have children. I was there when those 4 miracles came out. I've been in some cool situations. I've seen people who have been on crack cocaine, and now they're making over $100,000 a year and preaching. Amen. I've seen a lot. And so, and as you see a lot, as you look at that, you think, man, is this the good life? Is this the good life? As you sit there eating some of the finest food there is to be served on the planet, you're like, what? Is this it? Is this it? I remember there was a bank that I used to go to cash my checks, and I did not have an account with the bank. And so because I didn't have an account, and they had to give me my money in cash, they would put it in bags. So much, in fact, the woman that worked there just swore up and down I was really Will Smith. One day she wouldn't give me my money until I signed an autograph. Man, I've been in some cool places. Man, is this the good life? I've been standing in the airport, and somebody approached me. And these are people who, when they speak, countries change directions. And I'm just standing in the airport, and they approach me. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing? Where you going? My wife had to tell me how cool that was. Hey, that was pretty cool. Did you know that was cool? Some really cool situations. You know, I've been sitting, and this wasn't cool at first. I had to think about it. I was sitting in my room one day, and CNN came on. And as CNN came on, it was reporting that a friend of mine had passed away. And so I was like, I can't believe it. I just seen him Friday. You know, you go through all of that stuff, and it was the news story for the morning. And then it dawned on me: CNN is saying that my friend passed away. What kind of friends do I have that it made international news? Wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't cool that he died, but it was kind of cool. And so we start looking at this thing that we call the good life. Matter of fact, that particular term, the good life, actually comes from a student of Socrates, Aristotle. Y'all know Aristotle. Little fella, he wrote a couple things. He knew a few things. He wrote a lot of stuff about. Matter of fact, the only reason we know of Socrates is really because of Aristotle. Socrates didn't write too much down, but Aristotle was one of his understudies and wrote a whole lot. He had this concept called eudaimonia. Eudaimonia, the good life. Bless you. The good life. So whenever we even think about that term, the good life, we actually think back to this particular individual here who came up with that term. And that term, if you can think about, he said, this is what we should really strive to do in our day. In our life, we should strive to have, that's a Greek word, we should strive to have it. We should strive to live this good life. And I like really the way that he put it, because he said, a mixture. It's mostly about virtue. It's mostly about doing the right thing, and then there's also a few other things thrown in there. Couple things, you know, you might throw a car in there, you know, might throw a nice house in there, but it's mostly about doing the right thing. And so as I begin to look at this thing that we call the good life and looking at what Aristotle called the good life. In a minute, we're going to look at what the Bible says about the good life. You know, some things didn't line up at first. Because once again, if I turn on the radio right now, and if I turn on the videos right now, they'll tell me that the good life is all about bling. The good life is about having a Bentley. Matter of fact, some of the pictures and the images that we pulled up, what's going on? You doing all right? Come on up front, man. What's your name? Stop the whole service. Right on up here, man. Don't worry about it. You all right? You good? He's like, wait, man, what is this? No, have a seat, man. You good. You good. So when we talk about the good life and all of these things that are out there and all these images that we pulled up, sometimes we'll pull up a picture of a Bentley and it say the good life on it. We'll pull up a picture of the mansion and it says the good life. Sometimes it was just people sitting, chilling on the beach with a nice glass of champagne. They say, this right here is the good life. Sometimes it was just a picture of a Rolex. And it said, live a good life. Live a good life. You know, sometimes it was a vacation villa. And it said, you know what? You deserve the good life. And when we look at Aristotle's original definition of this good life, that's really not what it included. Matter of fact, there was a concept called hedonism that actually is more in line with that. Hedonism basically says, do everything you can to feel as good as you can for as long as you can, because this might be it. This might be it right here. This might be the only good life you have. So do all that you can. And when I look at what we consider to be, sometimes when I say we, the world considers to be the good life, it's kind of in line with that hedonism attitude. I'm like, now how in the world did that come? Now here's what the trip is to me. Here's the trip is to me. Now when we think about back to the original Adam having two kids, y'all remember what those two kids' names were? Cain and Abel. Now Cain and Abel both came out the same spot. They came out the same spot, but they have two different mentalities. Ironically, the two philosophers that had this particular idea, they was both understudies of Socrates. One said, let's do the hedonism thing. The other one said, let's do the virtual thing. So they're almost like philosophy brothers. So here you have one going in a total other way saying, let's do as much as we can for as long as we can. Let's drink it up. Let's live it up. Let's do all kind of things up that we possibly can. And if it's down, let's do it. Let's smoke it up. Let's shoot it up. Because it's going to feel good. Hit it hard as you can. Woo! Get rich or die trying. We have adopted that. That this is a good life. But here's the problem with that. So just like I told you all the good stuff, I mean, like, oh man, you know what? I found out something on accident. I wasn't trying to find this out. I found out on accident that whenever you get ready to fly international, you know it ain't but so much money that you can carry with you. Did you know that? Yeah, I found that out the hard way, unfortunately. Now check it out. So when I'm in line and the dog locks on to me, I'm thinking he's trying to search for drugs, so I'm scared. I'm like, somebody put drugs in my pocket or something like that. First thing the man said is, you got some money on you? Yeah. How much? I told him. He said, pull it out and count it. Right there in the middle of the airport as I'm about to get on the plane. Now, I'll take that issue any day. Hey, man, I'll take that problem. If you asked me that day, after the dog let me on the plane, after that, I would have said it's the good life. Now, before I was scared to death, I'm not going to lie to you. But there's an issue with that. No matter how much good food you eat, it ends up in the same place.
That's hilarious.
Looks the same way. You can't tell McDonald's from Ruth's Chris in the toilet bowl. I mean, it all looks the same. You can drink water or fine wine. Guess what? Looks yellow at the end of the day. Here's what I found, that even though I've been in the situation where, I mean, all of these things are so happening and it's fantastic and it's phenomenal, I've also been on the other side. See, I know what it's like for a partner of yours to go into the bank and just withdraw every single dime and bankrupt your company. I know what that feels like. You know, I know what it feels like to have a house built from scratch, from absolutely nothing, and be able to pick everything out in the house. I know what that feels like. Built from nothing. I walk in the model and say, I like this, build it again. I'll be back in 6 months. I know what that feels like. I also know what it feels like to lose that house. Have to walk away from it. You know, just like I've been in a hospital when we've prayed for people and we prophesied over people, and they walk out of that hospital and the doctor themselves, I'm confused. I don't know what happened. Oh my God, it had to be God. It had to be something else because I didn't do nothing. But I've also been in a situation where we had to watch somebody pass away right there. Been there. Been right there. You know, seen situations where, just like I told you, we've seen situations where babies were born and they weren't supposed to be born. But I've also been there for when that baby dies. I wouldn't call that the good life. And so what I've noticed is that all of these things, these cars and the clothes, let me tell you something. I don't care how great your car is, you probably won't have it 6 years from now. And I guarantee you won't have it 100 years from now. I'm trying to tell you. And so the thing is that all of these things that we consider to be the good life, it's actually switched. It's really, from this perspective, it's a hedonistic look at it. And it's deep when we talk about the concept of a good life, because if we break it all the way down, they really thought that you can't really know you've lived a good life to the end of your life. You couldn't really know. Now the hedonistic way is saying, you know what, you got some ups and you got some downs, just try to make your ups outweigh your downs. Do everything you can. Yeah, it's gonna be some downs, just get enough ups so it won't matter. Somebody gonna die, that's okay. Smoke enough weed, that's okay. It'll be okay. Even it out. You know, somebody's going to leave you. Just get enough women. You got 42 women. One of them leave. Hey! You won't even know. Do the Solomon thing. 900. One leave, $8.99. Who cares? I go get a sister. Do as much bad as you possibly can, but let's call it good. Live it up. Try to satisfy your flesh. But here's the thing about your flesh. You cannot satisfy your flesh. Woo! I have never seen somebody get drunk on Saturday night and on Sunday morning wake up and say, woo, I feel so good. I'm so glad I got blasted. Remember, I'm the pastor, so I'm the one to get the call the next day. Oh, they hitting it hard Saturday night. Sunday, they think they're about to die. See, all of these things that you attempt to do, we attempt to do, to satisfy the flesh, man, it doesn't work. Here's the thing about the $5 million mansion. You get used to it. Here's the thing about the $4,000 and $5,000 suits. You get used to them. No longer satisfied. Here's the thing about the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the 50th high. You get used to it. Doesn't satisfy you. Get used to it. Guess what? Making $1 million sounds real good. Oh, I want to make $1 million. Till you make $1 million. And this is going to sound real crazy. You get used to it. You get used to it. Yeah. I'm gonna flip it for you. After you make the $1 million, if you keep it, what you gonna do? I made a list for myself one time. You know, one of those quote unquote bucket lists before they call it a bucket list of all the things I want to do in life. And I wrote them all down, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna do this. And then I did them all. Scared me to death. Now because they had told me that this stuff represents the good life. Then I did all of it, and then it didn't mean nothing. You know, it made me understand how people can go and they can make $1 million, or they can sell 1 million records, or they can get Grammys, and then the next year you see them cracked out somewhere. The next year you see them committing suicide. The next year you see them in a hospital with the wrist slit. I understand that. See, because we got to learn how to enjoy the journey, because trust me, that destination is not what you thought it was. If there's a destination that's in flesh, it's not. You know, when people wake up in the morning and say, you know what, we're going out tonight, this is what we're going to do, we're going to dance, we're going to get high, we're going to get drunk, it's cool. That next day, woo, good God. You wake up like, I can't believe. Here's the call I get. You have a collect call from the inmate at the correctional facility, and we go down, and we talk to you. Pastor, I messed up. It's okay. God forgive. He's faithful and just. Forgive us of all. Don't worry about all of that. And they will say this. If God can just get me out of this one, I will never. No one's happy.
Never say that.
Ooh, because you know what's going to happen as soon as they come out. You know how many people we would have at church today if everybody had told me, Pastor, I want you to pray for me. And I'm telling you, if the Lord does this, I'll be... there it is right there. I will open the doors up and close them down.
And get out and do the same thing right around, turn around.
It don't even make that night. They get out. As soon as they get out, they go straight to where they came from. But that's a stronghold. We talked about strongholds, but it's them trying to satisfy that flesh. If it was satisfied, the flesh would be satisfied. It'd be like, I'm good. I'm straight. And see, the thing is, we can tell when you're always trying to satisfy the flesh, because the flesh will try to return you back to that earth. It will try to put you back down. So while we think we live in this good life, we're living this hedonistic life that's trying to return us back to the dust. Matter of fact, that's part of the concept is you going back to the dirt, so just kick it as long as you possibly can. That's what it's saying. Do all the stuff you can for as long as you can, because you're going to end up in the dirt. But the thing is that when those trials and those tribulations come, we tend to say that that's not the good life. Right? We tend to say that that's hard. But we forget something. The Bible, when it talks about those trials and tribulations, it's there for a reason. See, if I wanted to build up some muscle mass, I'd have to go to the gym and I have to lift what? Weight. So if I lift weight, I get stronger. If I lift weight, then my vascular, my system gets better. If I lift weight, my muscles grow bigger. If I lift weight, check this out, I'll be able to lift more weight. And if I lift more weight, I'll be able to lift more weight. Now understand this, that when you're in this Christianity walk, this is the same thing. God says, I'm not going to put more on you than you can bear. I'm going to give you a little weight. I'm going to let you lift that. And after you lifted that little weight and your muscles, your spiritual muscles have got just a little bit bigger, I can go ahead and put a little more weight on you. And once you got a little more weight, after you get through to pushing that, I'm going to put a little more. See, that's why whenever you have been in this walk for a while and something happens, talk to them old Christians, them old mamas have been around forever, and somebody say, you know, so-and-so is going through this, and they say, oh, baby, she going to be all right. It's going to be all right. See, what she's saying is that I got some muscles here. I ain't worried. That's little old bitty. I ain't worried. Baby, no. Don't mess with that. But she gonna be okay. Don't mess with that, baby. It's gonna be okay. You know, we were talking about something last night that I actually never shared with y'all, but I will share with y'all today. There was a lot of issues going on with our building. Now, I've been here for 10 years. Okay, I never had an issue. All right, we put a church here. You got issues, right? We actually had a group come through here that we, showed a tour to do some business with, and then they come back and they own like a Muslim TV station or something. And then they come back, contact the owner of all the buildings, and say, well, you know what? We want to do something. We want to buy everything over there, but we want to kick him out. Money in hand. The owner of everything Muslim too. So much, in fact, called me and said, hey, here's what we're looking at. Here's the deal. You might have to leave. No, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. Y'all, we were paying them more than they asked us to pay. Who does that? Do you know? I didn't tell y'all this. You know they served us with an eviction notice? I'm like, oh, yeah, God gonna fix it. It will work out. Yeah, it ain't work out. Yeah. Me and Kid talking about it's all right, so you ain't worry about it. We'll take the rest of the stuff too, ain't worry about it. Then all of a sudden, I called. I said, you know, I got this letter, man. He said, I tell you what, Dwayne. Forget that you ever got that. He said, let's talk. It's hard for me to forget now. I'm looking at it. So y'all know I was on a cane for a while and everything else. So I went down there, talked with him. And he said, you know, I got this offer on the table. It was a good offer, I ain't gonna lie. It was a real good offer. I said, no, you don't want to do that. No, what you want to do is, because I didn't tell y'all this, the lease had ran out, and the issue was he wouldn't want to renew it because he can get all this other money. You know, we done built up all this stuff, $1 million worth of stuff, and now you can get paid more for it. So we said, no, you don't want to do that. You don't do that. He said, well, I got this other offer too. I said, I'm sure, but you don't want to do that. What you want to do is draw up that lease, and let's keep doing business. You know what he did? He drew up the lease. Handed it to me. I'm trying to tell you. Y'all ought to give the Lord a hand clap and praise and a backflip on that. We were going through that for a while, you know, for a little minute. But, you know, I know God going to work it out. I don't know how he's going to work it out, but I know he's going to work it out. Now, you take me back 15 years? Oh, good God. Oh, no, what we going to do? Oh, no, they tripping. Muscles not developed the same way. When you've been at the place where you like, you know, God done did this before. He done did it. He'll do it again. I'm not really worried about it. He works it out. Romans 8:28 is real. And we understand what the good life is really about. And he likes us. He loves us. He's going to look out for us. He ain't got nothing to worry about. It's going to work out. I don't know how, but it's going to work out. And I'm finna go to sleep. What's your plan B? You don't need a plan B. God is my plan A. You know, I look at him and be like, all right, fix it. What kind of backup you going to have to that? You know what I'm saying? Okay, if God don't work out, you tell me. But the thing is, when we look at these types of situations, when we look at the good and the bad, we automatically look at the good as this is the good life. The thing, a lot of times it's the things of the flesh. And when I asked that question to all of these people, there were very few that said the good life is the one that I'm either living right now or attempting going toward that. You feel me? And it's ironic to me that if we look at the original context of the good life, is that something that we all should be striving for, is that people will be able to identify what they believe is the good life and not even be heading toward that. And let me tell you what I mean. If you believe that the good life is having a Bentley, that if you just believe that, but you have no intention of going toward that way, that's amazing to me. If you really believe that's the good life, if you really believe that the good life is owning a business, if that's what you believe. Now, I'm not saying it is or I'm not saying it isn't, but that's your belief. And you are making no effort to get there. I like what my wife say when I asked the question. I said, what's the good life? You know what she said? Mine. I felt good too right there. Now, she didn't say it's the perfect life. She said it's the good life. That hit me a little bit. I'm like, nah, that's what I'm talking about. But you will find this, that as you go through, that there are some things that will remind us of what the good life really is. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where there were 3 men that were given talents. One was given 1 talent. Another was given 2. Another was given 5. The cat with the 5 talents said, I got this. He doubled it, made 10. It's a bad dude. I know. You hear that amen over there? The guy with the 2 doubled his to 4. The guy with 1, he didn't do anything. He just went and buried it. So when the good master came back and looked at the guy with the 5, he said, what have you done? He said, well, I doubled that to 10. He said, oh, wonderful. Enter into the joy of the Lord, of thy Lord. He went to the guy with 2 and said, what have you done? He said, man, I doubled mine and went to 4. He said, oh, you're a bad man too. Enter into the joy of thy Lord. Then you got that last joker. All he did is went and buried his. He went and hid it somewhere. I didn't do nothing with it. And ironically, he was the one with a bunch of noise to talk. I knew you was going to come back wanting to something that you didn't even put in on. You're wanting to reap where you didn't even sow. I knew you was going to do that. He said, well, since you knew that, why didn't you do something about it? You came back with just the same one I gave you. Don't you get away from me? See, there was no joy of the Lord that he got a chance to enter into. See, it's just like that that mustard seed. Remember, we talked about that. The Bible said, if you have faith as or like a mustard seed. Understand, it didn't say the size of it. We always talk about the size of a mustard seed. That's not what the Bible says. It said you have faith as a mustard seed. Like a now understand what that means. That means that something can come from what seemingly is nothing. That the increase is given. You have this thing here that is here. You don't see a tree. It looks nothing like a bush. It looks nothing like what it is to become. Therefore, there's some growth that has to take place. There's some increasing that has to take place. There's some metamorphosis that has to take place. The Bible is saying when your faith is like that, when your faith is able to be rooted and grounded and metamorphosized and to grow into something that you cannot surpass, into something that you cannot ignore, into something that is solid and able to give life to other people, when your faith is like that, then you'll be okay. You'll be able to move mountains. Now, something about this when Jesus is telling the story, and he's talking to the men with the talents, and he's saying that, you know, I want you to enter into the joy of the Lord because you've been faithful over these few things. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many. The thing here is, if we want to live the good life, and we're going to be talking about this all month, but if we want to live the good life, we got to first understand that what it is and understand the components that it has there. It's not based in those things that are earthly. If we truly want to live the good life, what we have to do is focus on those things that are eternal. See, the Bible says only what you do for Christ, only what you do for God, only what you do for this ministry, only what you do for this body, only what you do for him is going to last the test of time. That's it. Your car won't make it. It's not going to make it. Now, you taking your car and giving it to somebody that otherwise couldn't be able to get around, that act will make it. Your bank account won't make it. Spending your bank account on somebody who can't make it, now that's going to make it. So the first thing that we want to learn in our first lesson in the good life, the very first thing I want you to really have in your head to understand that if you want, because I'm assuming that we all want to live this thing that we call the good life. The very first step that we have to have before we go another further is understanding that the currency that we need to purchase that good life, the money that we need to be able to finance that good life, is not in dollars and cents. It's in faith and works. Faith and works. Faith goes right with works. If somebody believes that they love you, they're going to do something to show you. If you truly believe that this chair is going to hold you, you're going to act like it. I seen y'all all come down and just sit down. Didn't nobody check the chair. Let me make sure it can handle 100 pounds, because all of y'all weigh about 100 pounds. Let me make sure it can handle 100 pounds. Speak those things. Speak to it. Speak to it, amen. Speak to it. Speak to my belly. Faith and works is that thing, that currency that we're going to need to be able to take us into that next realm. It's going to be the thing that we need to take us into that good life. It's not the cars, it's not the money, it's not the clothes. Let me tell you something. You're looking at somebody who has been around some of the richest people on the planet. On the entire planet. And most of them I would not trade places with. Some of them I've never seen smile. Ever. Next time you see a Bentley or a Ferrari, $120,000 Benz, look at the person driving. See if they look happy. Is that really the good life? But I remember when we were all out building a Habitat for Humanity house, and I'm looking at people while they're banging their fingers up, smiling. I was watching Sharita. She was pregnant with the tool belt and the hat. Now this is in the summertime. Wasn't this last one, it was the other one. In the summertime, it's hot. She's pregnant. Y'all pregnant and hot? With a hammer? You go tell a pregnant woman, I want you to get out here and hammer up some siding in the heat in Texas in the summer while you're pregnant. Try it. Didn't matter. Smiling. Happy. Why? Because we're doing something that's eternal. Something that's going to last beyond today. Has nothing to do with the hammer and the nails and the siding and all. Has nothing to do with that. Has everything to do with Matthew 25:31 through 46. When you've done it unto the least of them, my brothers, you've done it unto me. So our first lesson today in the good life is understanding that currency. Understanding what it's all about. How do we purchase the good life? How do we finance the good life? It starts with that faith and works. Doesn't start with our bank account. Doesn't start with how much women we can get. Doesn't start with how many drugs we can smoke. Doesn't start with how many Cirocs we can put down in a night. Doesn't start with your bottle service. Your bottle service will have you looking funny in the morning. Your bottle service will have you waking up to something on Sunday morning that you didn't go to sleep with on Saturday night. Your bottle service will have diseases with little names following you around for the rest of your life. But the things of God are eternal. So begin looking for those opportunities. Begin looking for those places where you can exercise your faith and your works. Amen? Then we'll get to the good life. Y'all, give the Lord a hand clap as we pray. This is my time.